Okay, friends, it's Wisecrack's Case of the Mondays. Monday, March 10th. It's March already. And it's not just March already, it's March 10th if you live in the United States of America, aka Estados Unidos, aka Italiani, aka I forget whatever people call this country. Um, the time change. So if you're feeling a little groggy, that's not your fault. It's normal. These things happen. We're here. I'm Michael Burns. I'm here with producer Henry. You in the chat are our friends. We like you. We care about you. You're good to go. We respect you. Thanks for watching the most recent Wisecrack video. It did well, so we appreciate that. We appreciate when a video does well, especially at this interesting intersection of our time in history. What's up, Eddie, in the chat? Let's just get right into it. We're going to watch Sam Seder on Jubilee. You know we have a complicated relationship with Jubilee. It's a really long one. I'm just going to start us at 1.25, guys. So if you have not already abused stimulants today, now is the time to do so. And we're going to get right into it. So thanks for being here. Say stuff in the chat. We're going to be checking in with you, but let's watch this shit.
From the xenophobic nationalism, don't you think that's better for Americans in general?
To be xenophobic nationalism is better?
We should have a coherent culture. Everyone should be a part of the same culture.
Which, do you get to choose what the culture is?
We already have a dominant culture.
I mean, look, I gotta be honest with you, you and I have a fundamental disagreement. We will never see eye to eye on this. Hi, I'm Sam Seder, host of the Majority Report, and today
I mean, my prediction here is it seems like Sam Seder, who I've never disliked. You know what I mean? There's nothing that I've seen Sam Seder do that I've ever disliked. Seems like a nice guy. Seems like a good, what would we call Sam Seder, friends? Like a progressive liberal, something like that, right? Not like a
yeah, like a progressive pundit. Definitely not like centrist, I'd say. But somewhere out there asking the right questions.
Yeah, and he's a member of the comedian to social commentator pipeline. But yeah, I'm just curious because okay, for those who don't know, we made a video on it. I have significant philosophical problems with the very premise of Jubilee, but I'm actually really curious to see how Sam Seder from the Majority Report takes on 20 Trump supporters. Let's go.
I am surrounded by 20 conservatives. My first claim is Trump's attack on DEI hides his real goal, which is to give corporations more power.
Uh-oh, this will be cute. This will be cute. It's like they found all the MAGA kids that look kind of cool.
All right. Oops, sorry, Sam.
No worries.
All right. I think I have a
if you saw this guy with the mustache walk into a coffee shop, you'd be like, oh, he probably has a MIDI keyboard in his bag that he uses to produce chill wave music.
slight issue with the back end of the premise. I guess Trump's attacks on DEI being a real goal to, give corporations more power. I'd rather center the conversation around the democratic, especially as conservatives, the issues that people have with DEI and why I believe Trump would, want to support the.
I just think aesthetics are important. I think if you are liberal, you should look kind of boring. I think if you're normal conservative, you should look like you go to a country club. I think if you're MAGA conservative, you should look like you're going to a Ted Nugent convention. If you're progressive leftist, you should look like an aging hipster. And if you're ultra leftist, you should look like a dirty person.
The issues that, people are voting for him for.
I mean, I'm talking about his whole attack on DEI. It's actually DEIA, sure. Right? You know that,
right.
In government agencies. The A being for accessibility.
Right. Yeah, and I think the attack on DEI isn't an attack on people's protections. It's on the other end of the spectrum, right? Wanting to end DEI doesn't want to end protections for someone being disabled, someone being, inaccessible to get into a job. It rather wants to de-incentivize corporations to push them to hire these people on unfair bases, right?
Okay, but DEIA is not about quotas or anything like that. It is about protections for people within these organizations, or to make sure that you have different communities that have the opportunity to apply to these things.
Right.
So it can mean, within government agencies, it means things like, let's pay interns so that not only
paying interns rips. Shout it out in the chat if you've ever been an unpaid intern.
wealthy people can have their kids do internships in these agencies.
Right.
Or let's put out notices around different parts of town.
I do see someone said, what are you by looks? I think by looks, I guess I look more like a progressive liberal. I think of myself as a little more leftist, but I'm I guess I do kind of probably look like an aging pseudo hipsters.
Metaphorically speaking, so that people know this job exists.
Right. This is where it begins, but this isn't the ultimate goal that conservatives have an issue with. Conservatives don't have an issue with trying to spread job applications to poorer communities.
Well, then why rescind DEIA requirements in government agencies?
Because the problem with DEIA is there may not be like perceived actual number quotas, but that's what it devolves into, and especially with corporations.
Do you have the evidence of that?
I mean, sure, we can look at.
Did you see the My Chemical Romance guy who just raised the
corporations that are government agencies that are hiring people on not true proper
I guess like the My Chemicals in the tap water that make the frogs gay romance.
bases. We can even look
at.
I mean, we can even look at.
Would you have
DNC's,
any evidence that that's happening?
Yeah, even the DNC's nomination of Kamala as president this year. There was no reason to nominate Kamala as she wasn't democratically selected. She didn't go through a single primary. None of these things.
So you're saying that Kamala was the vice president of the United States after the president drops out 2 months before the convention. You think that's a DEI
She wasn't
hire?
Every presidential nominee is democratically selected to be the nominee for that party.
Do you realize
except
there were
for
not
Kamala
even
Harris.
primaries prior to 1972
well,
in
sure,
the Democratic
but
Party?
this isn't before.
Damn, Sam Seder, he be knowing stuff.
Before
Well, I
1972.
understand, but what did you think you were going to run primaries in those 2 months?
Well, sure.
I mean, Joe Biden should have dropped out even 3 years ago.
Well, sure, but even before, when Kamala was running in primary, she didn't. She wasn't the next man up. None of this. She wasn't the next person.
She was the vice president,
right? Of course, but she wasn't in primaries.
Detail. But listen, aside from, I would have might have wanted a different candidate as well. But that has nothing to do.
What is he thinking about? Is he just thinking about like if my dad sees me do well on this, he'll give me that hug I've been waiting for 32 years. For 32 years, I've longed for that affirmation from my dad. If I wave my flag and get to own this lib.
With Trump rescinding orders that basically say you need to search for a wide range.
Hey, the flags are at 420.
Range of candidates, not necessarily give any different benefits, but you need to make sure different communities have access to the awareness of this job. You need in your office accessibility for people who have physical handicaps.
Sure.
If you have folks who identify as as trans, you need to make it at least.
We'll skip ahead. This is a long video, so someone said the second premise is better. We'll watch a bit of this and we'll skip ahead.
Hospitable and not. This is all non-discriminatory stuff. That's what this is all about.
But you're cherry picking.
The reaction shots are just really sending
the
me.
portions of DEI that even conservatives don't have issues. Conservatives don't have issues with making workplaces.
The whole DEI apparatus within our government was a function of doing exactly what I said. Had nothing to do with quotas.
It is unfortunate that those things get taken out, and there might not have been specific.
What else was he trying to take out?
It's trying to take out people getting jobs that don't deserve those jobs. People getting pushed into positions they have no qualification.
There is no evidence of what you just said happening in these government agencies.
That's not true. I mean, we're not allowed to sit here and have notes and numbers to pull up for you. You can't.
Give me one example.
You can't ask me to pull up numbers when I'm not able to sit here and look on a computer for you. But these are problems that
Trust me, dog. I have numbers.
Like if I could just go, if you give me 25 minutes, give me a solid Wi-Fi connection. First, let me check all my apps. Let me deep Google. Thus far, here's what I hate about Jubilee. I hate these people. There's one guy I hate. I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna get sloppy. I've decided that since streams on the main Wisecrack channel have a shelf life right now, I'm gonna get a little sloppier and spicier than normal. I hope that's okay, everyone. But I'm just letting you know that right now. I'm going to get sloppy and spicy. I'm gonna make a sloppy Joe with like roasted jalapenos in it. There's that one guy, Dean something, who's one of like the young liberal guys who debates everyone. I've actively disliked that young guy, and I feel bad saying that. Yeah, and I feel bad saying I actively dislike someone I'm 20 years older than, but I actively dislike his grift. I feel like Sam Seder's not a grifter. This guy like has a career, and I kind of like his affect here because he's not like mad. He's not trying to prove anything. He's just sort of like, his whole vibe is like, really?
Sorry, you've been voted out. Turn to your seat.
I want to know where these warehouses are. I want to go on Surrounded, one daddy surrounded by 20 moms.
They're not even trying.
Okay, so I think the roots issue with DEI isn't what the previous gentleman was trying to point. Conservatives aren't necessarily have issues with those things. Like
again, this guy looks kind of cool. Like this is not what why does everyone have cool jackets and mustaches? Did they find these people and they didn't look cool and they said we're going to throw it off by giving all the conservative dudes like French chore coats and mustaches? I'm just confused.
I think we're just seeing like the compounding result of like politics being a cultural affect more than anything material. Like it's when you talk about Republicans being like postmodern, or I think of Trump as choose your own adventure, it's like American politics for the most part, like people don't want to think about it. And so much culture is about not being political and like being your own person and doing what you want. So like we're just seeing that play out where it's like, oh yeah, all the things you bought or all the things you adorn yourself with are just like, it's just affective. It's not meaningful.
I'm going to say something before we keep going, but does anyone feel like this? Sometimes when I see someone who has like a bunch of tattoos and dresses with a punk rock affect get into a high-end luxury vehicle like a white BMW SUV, it really confuses me. As someone that grew up in an era where like wearing skateboard t-shirts and tattoos meant that you at least existed in some sort of countercultural way, I just find that so weird. And my new thing, I might make a video about this. I've been thinking about this a lot. I don't think people should how do I phrase this? I don't think it's unethical for people to, let's say, be rich or have nice things, but I think you should have to be embarrassed about it. I'll expand on this later.
Accessibility to people might need help. The issue is, and I kind of referred to this before, when you have agencies and systems, what tends to happen when you have government overreach, big government, is that agencies and systems get abused. And I think unequivocally, DEI was heavily abused in practice. It was great in theory. It's idealistic, which is sure is fine, that a lot of people can get behind, but it was abused in a lot of ways. When you have actors, like we're in California right now, when you have actors, white male actors who are being told, we do not want white men, we're not gonna cast any white men, we only want this particular.
I just want to say that, like, if you guys seen movies, you know, in Bong Joon-ho's new movie, there's 17 white guys that are all the same. This is like a talking point people like to use, but you guys see movies with your human eyes, right? You guys watch TV. When you watch movies and TVs, do you think to yourself, where are all the whites? Where are my whites? Where are my whites at? No, you've never thought that. They're everywhere. They're writing this stuff. They're just, you know, watching an award show. There's whites everywhere. This is such a weird talking point.
Kind of gender, race, right? That is an abuse of a system. It's no longer fair, but more about just
First of all, Hollywood, let's say, I'm only saying because he's using the Hollywood example. Hollywood isn't a fair system as such, so who cares?
Perpetuating one aspect of, you know, visual compelling aspects, because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is companies are going to say, well, we want to look the most diverse. And
happy 666, guys. You know, happy 666 day to the U.S. government, who's disappearing student activists and trying to kick them out of the country. And happy 666 day to the organizations that are associating all pro-Palestinian protests with like tacit support for Hamas. And happy 666 day to the fact that we're entering a new era of McCarthyism. We're just hanging out during it, doing stuff like this. Because what else are we going to do? I don't know. I'll try to figure it out and let you know.
And what that is it's moral grandstanding. Is that because we have more black women, we sell better soda, like that.
I got you.
That is not.
Well, that's getting a little far afield from what Trump's DEI orders are. But I can
How did better soda
tell you, as somebody who was a sitcom actor in the 90s, I would walk into a room and everybody I would see would look like me. And I was doing a second position, which doesn't even exist anymore, where you do 2 pilots a year. And I was looking around basically every part of television when I was a kid. I was centered in some fashion. It was either this is about my mother, or this is about my father, or someone like me was centered. So, you know, we can argue as to whether or not Hollywood is overcorrected in some fashion. But on a governmental level, the DEIA directives that agencies were following for the past 4 years, there's nothing, I don't know what you mean by abuse on it, but there is no evidence that it was an affirmative action program in those instances. It was about anti-discrimination. You cannot discriminate against these people, and you want to open up opportunities for a broad swath of people. Again, the internship is like one of the most material things that exist there, where the idea that you need to pay interns. And that's important because you want low-income people to have the same sort of like opportunities to see these things as wealthy people.
That seems simple. That seems like a simple take.
You know, my kids can maybe afford to do an internship for the summer instead of going to get a job.
I think what's happening is we're talking about 2 different things.
Well, but I'm talking about Trump's DEIA rescission is a way of basically driving people out of these agencies, making it
You're saying Trump specifically, and I understand why you're saying Trump, but
he's saying Trump because the prompt is Trump's attack.
I think the American people as a whole have kind of, and I won't say whole because obviously it's not 100%, but a majority of the American people have kind of rejected DEI because, again,
I don't think a majority of Americans know what DEIA is.
That may be the case, but again, my point is we're talking about abuse of a system. What you're talking about is not necessarily what was happening. What people were seeing were, hey, because you're white, you can't do this, and liberals like to do this thing where they create systems and then they created the whole idea of woke and then they backed away, and then conservatives say woke and then they're like, we don't know what woke is. They created DEI. Biden literally said Kamala Harris is being chosen because she is a black woman, and then all of a sudden, Democrats for the rest after that said that's not why she was chosen, even though Biden literally said that. And then we have this cognitive dissonance as if we're not.
That was hard because didn't Biden say that? Didn't Biden, before he picked Harris, say that if he won, he would pick a black woman for vice president? I'm trying to be weird. I feel like that's what
living in reality.
Biden wanted to make sure that there was that there was an opportunity for a black woman to be his vice president.
Yes, but so why did Democrats move away from that and say no? It wasn't because she was a black woman. My point is that
arguing over a constructed reality leading up to the choice more than the merits of the choice itself.
Yeah. And also, too, it's just getting away from the prompt.
Because she's a black woman.
But that's what they said. I can agree that it's not because she's a black woman, but that's what they said. Why did they say that then?
No, because there are plenty of black women, right? Like, he could have picked anybody, but he picked specifically her. You're positing the idea that there wasn't a black woman who would have been qualified for that position.
No,
and I don't believe that.
No, that's not. Conservatives aren't saying that there aren't, because again, even in the Republican Party right now, and in Trump's cabinet, there are people of color that Democrats pretend don't exist, like J.D. Vance's wife, and
J.D. Vance's wife is not in the cabinet.
Like, a few things. One, if you're gonna say, like, if your whole thing is gonna be like, there's awesome people of color in the party, and you don't know her name, and you just say, people like J.D. Vance's wife, dog.
No, but if J.D. Vance was a Democrat, his wife would be lauded all over everything because of her color of her skin.
Listen, I'm not here to defend the Democrats' choice on every policy, but there is one party in this country that is identitarian. There is one party that is represented and it is homogenous, and it is the Republican Party. 85% of Republicans are white. That's just the reality of it.
So does that
Some
mean
people
that?
don't necessarily have a problem with that.
But here's the thing. You said even if let's just say, okay, that's true. 80% of Republicans are white. Does that mean that they're less moral? That they can't run an effective government? What does race have to do? What does race have to do? Hold on. What does
Donald Trump didn't have to say.
Sam's getting spicy.
My vice president is going to be a white male. Because they all knew it was going to be.
No, this is the premise of DEI. What does race have to do with running an effective government? What does race have to do? If let's say DEI on the micro level.
I will tell you right now.
DEI on the micro level at McDonald's.
I'll tell you.
Am I going to get better?
Why is he talking better?
Listen, I'll ask you a question.
If the cashier is black or white, what does that have to do with
anything?
Hey guys in the chat, let us know what race makes the best nuggets. Don't answer that. Don't stop it.
I'll tell you what it is. First of all, DEIA means that if you come into this agency or...
Oh, is that we gotta pray?
Pray for DEI.
Dear God of DEI. DEI stands for the deity who is eternally investigating our humanity. And we pray to that deity and ask that no matter what race is working at McDonald's the day we go there, that the nuggets are ultra crispy. Also, we pray that McDonald's nuggets don't exist anymore. That's the grossest food on the planet. I'm going to break from the prayer right now. I'll tell you what makes me want to throw up. Imagine in front of you right now, vegans, vegetarians, mute for 10 seconds, ripping the like fried layer off the nugget and looking at the meat inside. I'm not kidding you guys right now. If I thought about it hard enough, I could vomit right now.
Corporation.
Amen.
Going to be discriminated against because you don't look like everybody else, or you don't have the same like physical abilities as everybody else, or you may require handles on the bathroom or whatever it is. That's what DEIA does. But does it make a government better if there's a broad representation of the people?
Did you have to have a mustache and
supposed to govern? Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Regardless of DEI, don't we already have things in our Constitution that protects people's rights, protects people?
No.
We don't?
No.
Do we or do we not?
No, we do not. Tell me what protects people from discrimination in housing and in work and hiring or getting loans? It's all statutes. It's all statutes. And in these government agencies, there was nothing except for that order. That's why Trump just rescinded it.
I'm gonna tap out because I think someone else has a better
coward
can defend that point specifically better than me.
All right, please return to your seat.
No one seems ready. Oh, I guess they have to do the countdown.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Okay.
Here we go.
When it comes to DEI, essentially, if a person was not racist, he would hire someone regardless, right? So why would we need a policy?
Yeah, we're doing casting for this Jubilee. We need everyone to look like they're in a third wave pop punk emo trio. Can we just line up here?
To protect a person if we've moved past racism. So would you consider yourself racist?
Wait, are you suggesting we've moved past racism?
Would you consider yourself racist?
I consider myself, and sometimes I think we all practice like some form of, white supremacy. I think actually like we all do to some degree.
Well, I'm glad that you're saying that. So I guess going to the LGBT topic, it seems like it's very prevalent for you as an issue.
Well, it seems like a big issue. I mean, the Republican Party spent literally hundreds of millions of dollars demonizing trans people.
Well, the reason why they've done something like that, and I think you're misconstruing the narrative, they haven't.
He's misconstruing it. I don't want to be mean. I mispronounce things all the time, so whatever. So you can misconstrue it all you want.
Demonize them. They simply want protections back for their own children because children are being stripped away from their parents.
Who's their own children?
Parents.
Children are being stripped away from their parents?
Yes, due to AB 9.
Oh, wow. Hey, friends, thanks for watching. This is Wisecrack's Case of the Mondays, brought to you by Raytheon. I'm just kidding. We are brought to you by Yes Please Coffee,
though. Is that
though.
the 888 secret? We're
oh,
CIA,
yeah.
We're
Raytheon. I mean, here's the real secret. The secret is we're probably going to stop streaming on this channel soon, but we're going to keep streaming on my personal channel, and I'm going to try to stream at similar times. And I'm going to try to figure out a way to pay Henry to keep working and producing it. So that's the secret. That's a real secret. Because you know why it's a secret? I'm not supposed to talk about that. I'm not supposed to talk about it. I'm not supposed to. I'm kind of a big mouth. I kind of say stuff. So there you go. There you go. Let's get back to these gentlemen who are out here. Children stripped away from their parents. Man. Oh, man.
5.4, they've now included gender identity as a premise to remove and strip parental rights for children who maybe they are rejecting their gender ideology.
So, but you'd be okay with parents who...
I like how he said rejecting their gender ideology, acknowledging that gender is an ideological construct. He didn't say rejecting their biological natural gender. He said rejecting a gender ideology.
Agree with their children's doctors to provide gender-affirming care.
I do not agree with that. Do you?
I believe that parents and doctors can make those decisions with the kids.
If a child can't smoke, drink, or have sex before the age of 18, they should not be able to consent to a sex change. Now, in terms of a DEI initiative, the reason why there's...
again, guys, this is going to be the most obvious shit you've heard. This will be the most obvious shit you've heard all week. I just love the, personal freedom, personal liberty. It's all about personal freedom except these things, and these things,
Military bans on trans women and trans men is because they do not have the ability to cooperate at a mental capacity when they're constantly undergoing hormone treatment, as well as depression pills, as well as different moods.
Oh, the premise here, the logic he's using, sadly, some fellows would agree with this, but the logic he's using, it sounds like they're saying that, women on their periods shouldn't get to vote. If they, anyone that has raised hormonal levels, depression pills, if you are in any sort of...
Your emotions may be swaying you too much to allow you to be an independent actor.
Yeah. I think men should only be able to vote when they're in a moment of clear post-nut clarity. For those 90 seconds, they can make rational decisions, but anytime other than that.
Stabilizer pills. So when you go out to combat, do you really think you're going to...
To combat? Are we doing war now?
Bring an ice cooler pack with your... whether that be hormone estrogen or whatever it may be, while you're about to shoot someone of the...
This guy got really extreme. He is positing a scenario right now, friends, where a trans soldier is at the front lines of the war, and they have an igloo cooler next to them with hormones, and I think it's they have to do their hormone injection, so they can't get their gun to shoot the other people. This is what we're talking about.
The opposing war.
Well, the executive orders that Trump gave were DEIA orders that had to do with agencies that have nothing to do with the military.
Yes, they do. Yes, they absolutely do.
The FDA, they just revoked the ability of the Air Force to teach Air Force members about the Tuskegee Airmen. Well, what are we talking about here?
Okay, well,
honestly, they're rewriting history.
Well, that's your perspective, right? But
that's your perspective.
At the end of the day,
it's pretty postmodern.
If a person...
Tuskegee Airmen, we can all agree, existed, right?
Just listen to this.
I don't want to. I don't want to. God damn it. It's really sloppy dome, too, guys. I'm so behind on getting buzzed up. Oh, it went under. Hope you enjoyed it while you could, you little freaks. I'm kidding. You're not little freaks. If it comes back, I'll do it.
If you were a racist employer, and if you wanted to absolutely be racist and exercise that, you would. I think DEI sort of prevents people from seeing the reality. If a person truly wanted to hire you based on your intellect, based on your skill set, they would. DEI essentially provides tax cuts for the end of the year when you create your tax returns. They give you a tax credit for hiring someone who is black or a person of color. don't know if you know that.
in these agencies.
I hate you guys. I love you, but I also hate
In
you.
agencies and private
In government
businesses.
agencies, they don't get tax cuts for
you,
hiring
Drift King.
people
And
of
the other
color.
thing I
This
wanted
is
to,
to
and I-
protect
the other
people
thing I
from
want to
discrimination.
the other thing I want to
I hate everyone but Drift King.
Kind of
Because Drift King wants the dome earnestly.
here is that I've realized that a lot of the times with the liberals is that you guys push for example, for DEI and people of Latino or Hispanic descent. And a lot of the times what you don't realize is you're actually doing more harm than good by putting them in positions where you make them believe that it's based on the color of their skin. It's based on
DEIA does not is not.
It's based on merit. DEI emphasizes color, skin color,
No,
physical
it
attributes.
says that the people who work in your agency, it's about anti-discrimination.
Discrimination against what?
Against people who may have different cultural mores, may have different.
But that's irrelevant to a job, right? It should be based on merit. And that is the emphasis
People
here.
get hired as a merit, but if the
Not
DEI,
if you get a
if the
tax
DEIA, I'm talking about Trump's rescission of
If
these
you
orders
received a
on
tax
these
cut as
agencies.
an employer, wouldn't you hire a person of color?
Dude,
If you could pay them less?
Listen, we're talking about government agencies that do not get tax cuts. They
Is it like
don't.
this one
They,
went
government
viral?
agencies.
They don't.
No, these
Yes,
are.
they do. They absolutely do.
I'm talking about
Every
Government?
parts of-
private and public sector gets tax cuts when you hire a person of color.
Government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies operate are funded by the government.
That is not true. That is not true. And you know what? I think
His face right there. His face right there. It's
Holy
incredible.
crap.
I mean, it's just pretty. I would say, regardless of your ideological viewpoint, it's pretty commonsensical why government agencies wouldn't pay taxes.
I think juxtaposed of this entire conversation.
What month is this?
This is January.
Okay, so we can agree on that. The FDA does not pay taxes. It does not get a tax cut because it doesn't pay taxes. DEIA forces them as an agency to say, if you have a job opening, you must do your best efforts to make sure that every
I like that. I
part
love
of
me a
society.
buzzword. You must do your best effort. I love that buzzword.
Okay,
Because you
pause.
feel like you have to. You're pressured to.
Yes.
You shouldn't be pressured to hire someone based on skin color.
No, not to hire someone on skin color, but put up notice about that the job exists. Make sure that you put it in different communities so that you have as wide an application.
All right, someone said the second question is better. So this is let's see. I'm gonna fast forward and see if I can find what is this? Is an ad? Oh, here we go. Unless you're a billionaire. Okay, let's see.
Serving you unbiased, straight facts. Thanks again to Straight Arrow News for partnering with us on this episode. Now let's get into it.
My next claim is
Straight Arrow News, like,
unless you're a billionaire, a religious fundamentalist, or a xenophobic nationalist, voting for Trump was a mistake.
oh boy.
Okay, so let's tackle
Again, after.
one aspect: religious fundamentalists. What benefit would religious
Why is everyone called Mike or Michael?
fundamentalists get?
I don't believe these are real people.
And also, can you define what is a religious fundamentalist?
And maybe you could say more of like a Christian nationalist.
Okay.
In this instance, but things like the attacks on trans folks, the attacks on a woman's right to choose, the idea that we're going to get stuff like an enhanced RFRA, which is going to mean that if you're a pharmacist and you don't want to provide birth control, you may not have to.
Don't you think you're assuming that
If you believe that public education, we should take that money and pour it into religious schools, you're gonna get a benefit out of a Trump administration.
Yeah, but don't you think you're assuming that the vast majority of Americans who are moderates,
What do you think you're gonna get out of the Trump administration?
economic relief? That was
What kind of economic relief?
I mean, I know they did this in January, but it's pretty funny that Trump was just like, we might have to go into a recession. It's gonna be a beautiful recession, the best recession. No money, but it's gonna be great.
They're going to cut Social Security. You're going to have to pay for your parents. They're going to cut when they go after the agencies like they're going after, right? This is outlined in Project 2025.
The thing too is like it's worth noting that with the Jubilee thing, and there's some cool people who've been on Jubilee. We've talked to some. They put all these people's social media profiles in the description. And when we did the video on Jubilee, if you haven't watched it, do check it out. I think it's one of the best things we did last year. When we made that video, I was just looking up the profiles of all the people, and it's so many like weird grifters. You know what I'm saying? So these people know what they're doing.
Russ Vought, who's going to be the OMB head, he was the OMB head the first time around. He wrote all the book on this stuff.
Okay, well, you bring up Project 2025.
When you cut when you cut agencies and go after them, and you fire all the inspector generals so that they're not being able to make sure that the agencies are working, who do you think profits from that? It's corporations. They're going to go after agencies that make sure your food is
that guy was just like with his flag. I like the background.
Is not full of botulism, that your air is not full of mercury, that your water is not full of C8. This is what they're going to do. Agencies exist to curb corporations from externalizing their costs and privatizing their profits. So it may be cheaper for a company to dump their chemicals into a river than it is for them to dispose of it in a safe way.
Who would ever do that?
And so they get the
shout out Aaron Brock
profits from that, but the costs are borne by society. They're borne by society in the form of like people get cancer. They're borne by society in terms of like we've got to do the cleanup. That's what agencies do.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
That's good.
Guys, it wasn't 1.25 before I thought it was. I just put it up now, so I'm letting everyone know that your coffee was not dosed this morning. Although if you do want coffee that's dosed or not dosed, check out Yes Please Coffee. 20% off. Code Wisecrack. It's just really good. People can get mad about sponsors, and I get it. People that make content have to work with brands, and then it's like people get mad about that, and I get it. I get it. But you can't, there's no critique of Yes Please Coffee. There's none critique. It's a team of 4 people. They're all really nice. They're good. They make the best coffee you've ever had in your life, and it's 20% off. What is the problem with that? Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm going to go on Surrounded. 1 Michael versus 20 people that think that Yes Please Coffee doesn't rip. And it's going to be the shortest episode ever because I'm just going to crush. I'm just going to, everyone to sit down and give them a cup of coffee. They're going to take a sip and they're going to say, I'm wrong. I'm going to be like, next. But there's a link in the description. Check it out. Oh, okay.
That's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Okay, so I would like to touch on the religious fundamentalist aspect.
Yeah.
Are you an atheist?
I'm a Reformed Jew. I don't have a strong belief in the existence of God, but I don't think that religion in and of itself is bad.
Okay, so what's wrong with religious fundamentalists? So like when you said trans rights and women's rights or something like that?
Well, the problem I have with religious fundamentalists, and really more, I guess it's really theocrats, is that they want to impose their morality that comes from their religion on the rest of us. And I don't.
But morality, from your view, is.
I know that the Ava Braun looking gal seems like she goes hard. They showed her in the preview. So at some point, if we don't see her, we'll fast forward to see her.
Going to be a preference, right? It's not morality; it's a preference.
What's
So morality without a foundation is going to reduce you to a preference.
Well, I have a foundation for my morality.
Which is what?
It's a humanist vision of what basically creates as little suffering as possible for as many people.
Okay, so you're like a consequentialist, utilitarian.
Oh my God, homeboy like Wikipedia'd ethical stances or something like that. This guy has that DNA of that sort of like
but
logic.
it's just a preference.
It's so boring. Listen, I completely agree that having a theological basis for morality makes coherent sense in many ways, but there's so many ways to have a coherent ethical standpoint that don't involve theological claims or propositions. It's just a boring thing to go for. But let's watch them go.
I don't really bother myself with being a consequentialist or a utilitarian.
It's always going to reduce you to a preference. So if you say that killing is wrong and I say it's right, you would really have no contention with that.
Well, no, I don't base my understanding of civil society on religion. And so we have a civil society. Okay. We have laws that we have decided as a society in a democratic way. And for some people, it's okay for it to be informed by their religion. That's okay.
Okay, perfect. So if tomorrow society comes together and we say, hey, trans folks don't deserve rights, you would be okay with that?
No, I would be against it, but I mean, it would be
morally right under your view.
Not morally right. No. I'm not talking about morals.
Okay, so here's where I'm getting to, right? Religious foundations provide an ethical framework for one to live their life off.
I believe you can have an ethical framework without religion.
And if we take the leftist view to its logical tail end, to its extreme view, you have low reproductive birth rates. You have a reproductive dead end, so 2 men together can't reproduce unless they have to take from a healthy straight couple. Religion provides this foundation where you do prioritize.
I mean,
he
I know
just didn't
Sam
even
would.
listen to what Sam was saying about having a moral foundation without religious influence. Or
I mean, also you say if you take leftist views to their given end, the implication there is that all leftists are gay dudes, right?
Yeah, we're just gonna hyperextend it into hyperbole.
Like I don't know. I know leftists that do unprotected penis vagina sex. You know, that's cool for them. I know leftists that do all types of things, but you know the way in which leftist gets used, it's just very silly. that there's some weird antinatalist tendency within that.
Prioritize the nuclear
You
family.
see a problem with gay people being married?
It's not that I have a problem. I just don't see a justification for why they ought to be gay outside of it just feels good.
A justification.
Oh boy. I mean, can you imagine too saying to someone like, "Hey, sweetie, we're married. I just want you to know it doesn't feel good. I don't like this at all."
What credentializes this guy to have access to sex?
yeah.
Like, if we're talking about justified means and ends here.
Well, it does seem like he's literally implying that like he's gonna go home to his wife, who he hates, whose private parts he thinks are icky, but he feels morally compelled to by Christ, or something. No, not good.
Their justification for it?
Well, I think maybe that's the way they were born.
Okay, what about pedophiles? Are they born that way?
They may be, yeah.
Okay, so should we let a pedophile off the hook since they were born that way?
Funny
No,
stuff
I
in
think
the
we
chat,
as a
guys.
society has
Should
decided.
implement duties to prevent them from acting on that innate urge, correct?
Well,
So the gentleman who's talking, I'm pretty sure, is equating pedophiles to gay people.
I think between consenting adults, it's a different thing than.
Okay,
than
so you're okay
preying
with
on
a
children.
45-year-old dad with a 19-year-old daughter as well?
And now he just threw out, oh boy.
Yes.
No,
If they consent, you're okay with that?
no. I think society has also determined that it's like it's not beneficial.
Right, there's
for-
duties and obligations that we have. So religion provides those duties. Life isn't about
Well, but
freedom
also
and
I can-
exercising what you want.
I mean,
Life isn't about freedom and exercising what you want, but so
I
but
think
isn't-
that's his own self-repression speaking there.
yeah. Listen, if it was up to me, I would be eating dudes' asses constantly, but I'm not allowed to. But life isn't. So what is it then? Is life not? Is it about freedom and individual liberty? Is it not about freedom? I'm very confused. This is the thing that freaks me out with a certain form of right-wing Christian nationalism. Though it does lead to a mindset where like you shouldn't get your own freedom.
well, you want your religious doctrine
No,
on me,
because
and I don't want that.
you just admitted we need duties. We have responsibility as a society to keep us functioning, to keep us thriving. Your leftist view, the liberal view, doesn't provide anything besides it just makes me feel good. Religion does. So what's your argument?
He needs a duty.
What's my argument as to why I don't want
You have no
your
contention.
religion to? Well, because first of all, I don't think that you have the right to corner what God is telling us is right or wrong. And there are differences between religions. And so my argument is, like you're not going to keep halal or kosher, right? I mean, I don't believe that someone has a
Super chat is not haram. It is basically a speed dating show for freak ideas. I mean, it's just very funny though to watch this and see what happens when Sam Seder is just like a normal guy. And I do think this is important because a lot of people sometimes when they play these games, even the people who are on the quote unquote good side, they like play the game of the other person. And I think Sam Seder just being like a normal guy emphasizes even more so how crazy these people are. I think this is important in your own life, in our own lives, your life, my life, your dad's life, my mom's life, whoever. Also, if you have a single dad, I have a single mom, maybe we get them together, we can parent trap them. I know it's not quite a parent trap, but you get what I'm saying. Wisecracklive666@gmail.com if you think you have a dad who would be good for my mom. But I think we have to remember that being like normal is always the best response to someone who comes at you. And it is a debate tactic. I was not a debater in high school because I was captain of the football team, but I wasn't a debater, and I also wasn't the captain of the football team. But there's a strategy in debate. People like our friend Michael Luxembourg, you used to exist in that world where you just say a bunch of shit really fast and it's supposed to throw your opponent off. And when you react to that, you play into their game. I think just kind of being like, I don't know, man. This is a better strategy.
the corner on religious truth.
Okay, if we don't see Ava Braun by 10:45, I'll go find
Why we have a democracy is because we didn't want a king. And the kings came from the idea that their God said that they're the ones who's supposed to be king. And so we can disagree on this. I don't want to live in a country that is ruled by religious fundamentalism.
And if I do, you have no issue with that.
And no. And this is why I say under Trump, yes, you have won.
Yes.
You have a
Only
bunch
male
of
and
Christian.
female. You're
you
right.
have a Christian
One.
nationalist.
Yes.
And
Only what? It's just so smug and weird. Like, imagine thinking that the most important thing in the world is like gender bifurcation, two gender identities, but you're just alone in bed being like, oh, I hate trans people. I hate gay people. I hate them so much. I hate them so much. If they were here right now, oh, the things I would do to them if they were here right now. If there's a bunch of gay guys in my bed right now, oh my God, I would grease them up and I would show them who's boss. I'm so mad. I can't stop.
Oh, they
thinking
get
about
such a pounding.
oh, I would pound it out so hard. Like, they're basically all Mac from It's Always Sunny in the first 8 seasons of It's Always Sunny. It's like pre-gay Mac. sort of like hyper masculine repressor. It's so silly and weird.
Which is necessary.
And so I concede the point that under Trump, your Christian nationalism has gained an advantage under this.
Sorry, we're going to have more kids. We're going to have less abortions. We're going to have more family. We're going to have stable family households. Sorry about better education.
People, gay
Better education? Where'd that come from?
people should be outlawed.
They should be straight. They should be
Women
straight.
Ew, this guy sucks.
should be secondary to their husbands.
Women should submit to the husbands.
Women
That doesn't
should
mean they.
Ooh, this guy sucks. Actually, he doesn't.
Is he wearing a ring? We were assuming earlier he had a wife, but
I want to. Show me a finger. Oh, we should. Should we go on a mission to?
That doesn't mean they are slaves. It doesn't mean they are slaves. It means they are protected. Okay, let me ask you. Let me ask you.
No.
Should women be drafted? Should women be drafted?
Listen, I think
if they're equal, should they be drafted?
I think
yes, they should be drafted in the WNBA.
this is the vision that you have, and I
Also, we don't have a draft.
think Trump supports it.
Yes.
I think the Christian nationalists he has throughout his government are all going to work towards your vision.
Yes.
And my hope is that when people look at this, they say, hey, wait a second. I don't want my life to be dictated by the notion of a Christian nationalist prescription. Now, you may win out. I mean, certainly, like if you look at a country like Iran, they have a theocracy there, and that,
I love pulling the card of like, so you're like Iran.
apparently that's good for them if they want it.
My final point is whenever
but
we
I don't want to live in a
My final point is
theocracy.
whenever we see people live out Christian values to its full extent, we see a great society.
Poor example.
When we see people deviate from that, that's where all the problems arise.
What?
All right,
I
pause.
think you are at home in the Trump. Trump
Thank you very much.
You've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
is that like anti-war culture or?
Okay, I've seen this guy. I don't want to see him
Formed
again.
by his Christian nationalism.
Legislation's dictating
I
people.
don't want to
You
see
think
you
it's
again.
much higher. People being discriminated at workplace, phobic
Yes.
nationalism is
We
better.
should-
I disagree. I think that
What we're seeing right now is a culture of
people being discriminated at workplace.
They're never being discriminated. When you
I'm
hire
trying to
someone,
find
or
the
when you
beginning
interview
of Ava
someone, for
Braun.
example, you sexual
Are you
orientation,
allowed to fire them?
not what you sleep with, not who you sleep with. Just saying.
Also, I don't want to be presumptive. I'm going to say someone who's spoken thus far. I'm going to be sloppy here. I think they seem like they're maybe gay, which is totally cool. It would be pretty nuts for me if I was gay and I was in a room where I was on a team and I was like, this is the team I'm on, and then someone else on my team was like, you should be forced to not be gay. I would maybe be like, maybe I should be on a different team. Like if I was on a team and then someone on the team was like, oh, we should behead all the bald guys, I'd be like, yeah, fuck you. We should what? Oh, maybe I should be on a different team. That's all I'm saying. People on your team hate you. Be on a different team. Oh, she just hopped up.
Okay.
Sam.
So I actually think that this liberal world order needs to be
Peer
thrown
review
away
comments.
completely, and I think Christian nationalism would be a good alternative. What we're seeing right now is
And
just
congratulations.
and thank you. And yeah, I think what we're seeing right now is a culture of death. This is the most suicidal generation ever. We have millions of children dying by abortion. People aren't even reproducing. We don't even have like a.
Should we mandate
I keep
people
changing
reproduce?
the speed and it
No,
keeps
I don't think we
going
need to
down.
mandate. We can just stop them from killing their kids. There
So
are like.
you want to outlaw abortion?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, we have a fundamental disagreement on this, and my claim was that if you voted for Trump, it would be to your benefit if you want to outlaw
I think it would
abortion.
benefit. I think it would benefit everyone.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that that women should have the
It's
right to
funny that,
choose.
like-
I think that it would benefit everyone to bring
That his fundamental premise here too to them is like, hey, if you guys like this stuff, you won.
back the family unit to stop having women just thrown into the.
You guys notice how there's no families? You go on the streets and you're like, where are all the families? Guys, I live in California. I live in the lefty liberal commie pedophile Hollywood cult capital of the world. I was on a walk this morning trying to find pipe rocks with my daughter, and there's families everywhere. If there's families everywhere in the liberal California hellhole, what are these people? Where do they live where there's no families and it's all a bunch of childless throuple?
The workforce.
Maybe we shouldn't allow women to choose to divorce unless their husbands say it's okay.
I mean, I don't really believe in divorce in general, so like, sure.
Sure. Force women to stay with men. Yeah, abusive marriage. Sure, why not? Sweetie. Honey.
All right. I mean, this I think though reinforces my point that if you are
But it would be better for society. It would be better for everybody in society. And same with xenophobic national. Like, what's the problem with xenophobic nationalism? Don't you think?
What's the problem with xenophobic nationalism? is a question.
I just think we should operate on fear and pulling the trigger first, you know?
Okay, here's a real question. Does this person know what the word xenophobia means? Do we and I don't want to be, I'm trying not to be mean, but do we think that this person talking knows what xenophobia is? Because I kind of don't think she does.
I think that's better for Americans in general.
To be xenophobic,
yes.
nationalism is
We
better.
should have a coherent culture. Everyone should be a part of the same.
If you don't know what a pipe rock is, guys, you can look up pipe rock theory after this. I wanted to watch it on stream, guys. I have a hard out because I have a meeting at 11 that I can't miss. So, you know what I was thinking I might do though? I might do a stream later today on not this channel. That's all I'll say. Where I just watch pipe rock theory and talk about how I think it gets at the unconscious of the American mind.
In culture, we should have a section.
Which, do you get to choose what the culture is?
We already have a dominant culture.
What is
based
the dominant
on
culture?
European and Christian
Juggalo culture. European Christian.
values and identity.
European Christian values and identity.
That is the dominant culture.
White
It's
Christian-
rooted in European identity.
White.
Europe. Oh boy.
So your argument is
That
that
has been the
it's-
dominant culture.
Just to be
That said, I'm excited to celebrate St. Patrick's Day.
And
clear.
we're not letting people assimilate to that. We're saying you
Your-
should keep your culture, and this is why our culture is so divided.
Your argument is that Trump is good for those who want a dominant white European culture.
I mean, that is what America is. It's rooted in European identity and Christian values. That's
It's funny that she says this too. There's a lot of people of color in this.
what it has been. Would you really disagree with that?
Where from Europe? Which values?
Yeah, which Europe? I don't like.
It's a big
The
continent.
Yeah, the idea that Europe is a monolith and there aren't groups of Europeans that absolutely hate each other and have cultural distinctions. I don't know. I don't know. We got to remember too that the Europeans that started, first of all, the Europeans that started America weren't real Europeans. They were British. They have their own little freak island. And they were freaks.
I mean, there were these French throughout the Louisiana area.
Yeah, but that's why it's cooler there. Think about it. Where's a cooler place to be? The place where the English went or the place where the French went. I'm not saying the French were good. They did some bad stuff, but New Orleans is a more fun place to be than Winston-Salem. I don't know. That's unfair. That was an unfair shot at Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I've never been there. I have been in New Orleans. Hung out in Louisiana. If Logan's still in the chat, shouts to the Cajun master, but.
Yeah, there's
What
also
is that if that's not the identity of America?
Yeah, it's Spanish. There, Florida. Juan Ponce de Leon. You ever heard of Juan Ponce de Leon? I can tell you about him later.
What?
And then also, too, all the Europeans fucking hated each other. You had the early, Dutch and English people in the Northeast. And then the Italians came and they were like, oh, these friggin' Dagos. And then I'm allowed to say that because I have a Italian grandpa. And then, the Irish came and they were just these filthy mix. I can say that because I'm mostly of Irish descent. The Polish came. I can't say those words because those are not my words to say. But all of the different whites, all the different white Europeans, all just othered and demonized each other. So to act like there's cohesive European culture is very watch Eurovision, sweetheart.
Well, I think the identity of
Also, if we're going to say European culture in a contemporary context, I don't know. Most European countries have universal health care, and you're allowed to
For
begin.
the majority of time, America's been a country. You don't think that's been the identity?
Well, actually, no. I think actually the identity of America has been, for better or for worse, a melting pot in that regard.
Yeah. Maybe since the 1960s. Even then, even we had this idea of a melting pot. Literally means.
Do you think, sweetheart? Do you think there?
The 1960s, the melting pot imagery to me is always early 1900s, fucking The Godfather, Once Upon a Time in America. It is
It's
late 1800s American
brutalist, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Or that I keep calling it
60s. Why did we have
Hey, hopefully everyone's having a fun time in the chat today. I wish I could say I should email the people I have a meeting with next and be like, hey guys, sorry, having too much fun on stream. You know what I've always wanted to do is
the numbers are fantastic.
I know. I want to take a formal meeting on stream. And honestly, if you want to keep watching it, Henry Solo, you can. I'm not going to stop you. But I got to go do a meeting in a second. Let's keep watching.
Assimilation, too. It means melting. It means you're assimilating to the dominant culture. Is that not what melting?
No. Melting means you're assimilating dominant culture. That means if you put a bunch of cheese in a pot and it's 50% cheddar and 20% Gouda and 30% something else, they all become cheddar. Someone never went to a fondue restaurant in the late 90s.
No, it doesn't
And now
need to
instead we're saying there's something wrong with xenophobia.
Guys, white culture was so bad in the late 90s. If you did like a fancy meal sometimes with your family, you would go to a fondue restaurant. There was a chain called the Melting Pot where you would put pieces of white bread and white cheese and act like this was a special meal. Like, whites need to be abolished.
Culture. No. I mean, look, I got to be honest
Clip that. Clip me saying that. Show it to everyone.
with you. Like, you and I have a fundamental disagreement. We will never see eye to eye on this. It's a choice. And people, I think what you're expressing, though, is really what the Trump movement at its heart is about. And I think that's problematic.
I disagree. I don't think Trump's like anywhere close to being a Christian nationalist. That's ridiculous. Like Trump's
It's not ridiculous. I mean, it's not ridiculous.
basically a Democrat from like 15 years ago when it comes to social
So you don't think that he's conservative enough for you?
Oh, definitely. Nowhere close. No.
He's not xenophobic enough for you?
No, he's trying to pour a bunch of H-1Bs. Are you kidding?
Right. Oh.
This woman's kind of evil. Like, I'll be honest. I called her Ava Braun before, and I felt bad internally, but I decided I wasn't going to apologize for it, and I'm glad that I didn't.
So you want to get them
If you don't know who Ava Braun is, Google Ava Braun after you Google pipe rock theory.
out too? Yeah. No, I mean, I think you're making my argument for me.
All right.
Well,
okay.
I'm just saying he's not even. Okay.
My next claim is the GOP will destroy Social Security and health care.
Let's watch a few more minutes of this. See what happens. Have we seen this guy yet?
So
Is that
what
Destiny?
if
Oh no.
Social Security should go away? That's my question to you.
Because Social Security keeps 2/3 of our elderly out of poverty. And not only does it keep our elderly out of poverty, it's essential.
Speaking of our elderly, if your dad wants to date my mom, let me know. Hit us up at wisecracklive666@gmail.com. As always, our coffee partner is Yes Please. There's a link in the description. 20% off for the best coffee you've ever had. We're going to stream again on Wednesday. I might stream later today on another channel that's technically linked to in the description and talk about pipe rock theory. So if you want to hear about pipe rock theory, you can check that out.
Social insurance program that protects you if at the end of your life you don't have enough money to survive.
For right now, do you know that it's also the albatross around our generation's neck?
No, it isn't.
Okay, so
let me just explain this.
Well, you're going to go back to lecturing me about Social Security.
Well,
we don't
that's
have,
what we're talking about.
Social Security. Social Security is one of the top 3 funded.
Social Security is almost the biggest thing that our government does.
Exactly, and we are more than $30 trillion in debt.
Well, first of all, Social Security cannot.
I mean, people do the albatross thing, but you know, it'd be a bigger financial albatross if none of our parents got Social Security and they had to come live with us and we had to pay for them. Do you want your dad to live in the top bunk? Do you want to give your dad an allowance?
Contribute.
Maybe you do. Maybe that's what you're
legally to the deficit.
Because they don't even account it in the federal deficit every year.
That's correct.
We have
because
30
it's
years.
Self-funding. When Social Security started in 1936, you have more workers than retirees because people haven't entered into retirement. By 1970, it was at 3.5 to 1. Now it's at 2.5 to 1. But productivity has increased during that time, so the amount of money paid into Social Security has been up there. The reason why we are running out of money just for the trust fund, not for Social Security, like I say, if we do nothing with Social Security now, it is statutorily unable to contribute to the debt. The math is right there. The reason why the trust fund is running out is because wealth inequality has
fact check
hoarded so much money above the cap.
You don't think it's because the government does a terrible job managing their money? They have a huge spending problem, and they go, look at all this money we have for Social Security that's earmarked for 60 years from now that we're just going to spend on something right now.
40 years ago, they predicted this. This is an actuarial table. Accountants sit there and look at it. This is a very easy math problem.
Accountants in the government are always right? That's totally the thing that you're saying? That they're always correct about money, right? That's why we have a $40 trillion
This guy seems like a prick.
Debt problem.
The problem isn't.
This guy seems like a sort of guy where like you're having a friend with your conversation at a bar and he turns to you, excuse me. Are you guys talking about topic X? And you're like, yeah. And he's like, well, let me tell you. And you're just like, oh fuck. Now we gotta go to a different bar.
The math with the debt problem. It's you have tax
It's
cuts.
the spending problem. I totally agree with you, which I would argue is part of why Social Security's gone in the hole already.
That's simply not true.
Oh, okay. So we're out of money from the Social Security bucket.
No. Statutorily, by that I mean by law. Social Security pays for itself. If we do nothing,
great chat today.
We
guys.
do nothing.
Great chat.
The 6.2% that your employer and your employee pays into it will pay out 78% of benefits starting in 2033.
And why is it going down? If everything.
Guys, I have to go because I have an important meeting with. I have a meeting about the future of this channel existing. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's what I have to go do right now. So I have to go. This has been Wisecrack's Case of the Mondays. Thank you so much for hanging out. You can watch the rest of this. Google pipe rock theory. I might stream later on my channel. Henry and I are going to stream here again on Wednesday. We have a video coming out this week. Everything is good. We're going to live forever. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the dome. Shout out to producer Henry. I'll catch you next time.
See y'all Wednesday.
Okay, later.